The blob brush tool provides a unique combination of freeform drawing, but generates filled paths as the result. It allows you to work more organically than some of the other drawing tools. Let's take a look at how this tool works and some of the options available when using it. I'm beginning this video with the sky.ai file already open on my computer. And I'm going to begin by coming over here and selecting my blob brush tool. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that tool to make it active. And as you can see by my cursor, the blob brush tool works off of a brush tip shape. Now, what we could do if we double click on this tool, we can adjust the size and the angle and the roundness of the brush before we even draw with it. So if you wanted to make an adjustment, we can make the brush bigger or smaller. We can change the angle, and then the roundness is going to kind of squish the brush. So we can almost create somewhat of a calligraphic brush if we wish. So if I were to choose this, that would allow me to go ahead and create like a calligraphic brush. If I click OK, you'll be able to see that I can kind of draw, using this brush. So what I want to do is I'm going to switch to my selection tool, and I'm going to click on this. You can see that the result, unlike a lot of other tools in Illustrator, is a filled shape. So instead of it being a path with properties applied to it, it's really a filled shape. And you can even see here, it's really a compound path right away as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Let's go ahead and reset that tool. Go ahead and double click on that. And let's go ahead and change the angle. We'll increase the roundness to 100, the angle to 0. You can just type these values in. And in addition, I wanted to point out that you have a couple of options up here at the top. For example, we can keep the item selected after we draw it. So we can turn that on to always keep that object selected. And we could choose to only merge with the selection. In addition, we have a couple of tolerances here that you might have seen in some of the other tools. And the fidelity and smoothness, they both control the number of points that are going to be applied, as well as how smooth the path is going to be in the case of the smoothness. So I'll just leave those at their defaults for now and go ahead and click OK, and you can see that now we have a round brush. Now, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my swatches panel, and I'm just going to pick a different color here. Let's go with a orange color for now. And the interesting thing about the blob brush tool is that even though it's creating a filled shape, the stroke color determines that filled color. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of create an interesting little snippet here, a little path. And if I command click on it or control click on Windows, I'll be able to select that and you'll see the shape that is created. Now, when you use the same color, if I draw over here, it's going to create a new shape. But if I click and drag across these, it's actually going to, as you'll see, create a brand new shape, but it really depends on what you click on. So for example, if I drag across this, it's going to merge that together. And if I now kind of drag over top of both of these, you can see that the one is getting merged and the other one is still separated. Now let's delete these so we can get a better idea of how this works. I'm going to go ahead and drag another, create another shape here. And if I drag through this, again, it's going to merge that shape. And if I, drag over this, it's just going to continually merge because it's the same color. Now what happens when I change the color? Let's go ahead and just choose a different color. And I'll go ahead and drag right across this like I did before. And if I command or control click on it, you'll see that this is now a totally separate shape. Because it's a different color, it's not going to add to that existing shape that I drew. So this is kind of cool because it allows you to kind of create subtle shades within other shapes. And you can keep making, subtle adjustments and kind of layer things on top of one another. And if I select these, you can see these are all individual shapes. So the blob brush tool's job is to really give you the maximum flexibility as you're drawing. Now I'll delete these Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that the brush tip can be easily adjusted using the left and right bracket keys on your keyboard. So, for example, if I press the left bracket key, it's going to make my brush smaller, and the right bracket key will make my brush bigger. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to kind of show you what I had in mind. This is the sky.ai file, and I thought I'd put some clouds in here. So what I'm going to do is just freeform drawing, and I happen to be using a Wacom tablet, which makes it a little bit easier. And I'm just going to go ahead and draw some organic looking clouds here. And if I command click on that, we can see that this is a filled shape. And what's going to happen is if I draw in here and I start filling in this area, it's just going to add to that shape. So I'm going to continue filling in this area. I want it to be a solid shape here. So we can just color this in. I can even make my brush a little bit bigger to speed up the process. And now you can see that when I'm all done here, I'm going to have one contiguous shape. There we go. Now, using this tool, you can also hold down the Alt or Option key on your keyboard to temporarily activate the Smooth tool. So if you drew a shape that maybe has a little too many points on it, you can hold down the Alt or Option key and drag over this to smooth out some of these areas and actually reduce some of the points on a few of these paths. So you can see I'm just fine-tuning this a little bit, and I still have the result that I'm looking for. So I can move this over here and go back to the blob brush tool. This time I'll make my brush a little bit smaller, and I'm going to go for a slightly smaller cloud here. And again, I can go ahead and fill this in if I wanted to. And that's going to create the other shape. It looks like I missed a spot here. We'll just fill that in. This is a shape like any other, so this shape can be scaled. I can drag the corner handle and scale this down if I wanted that to be a little bit smaller, and I can modify it in any way that I wish. So as you can see, the blob brush tool offers a lot of flexibility when drawing in Illustrator, and it's sure to be one of your most frequently used tools inside of the program.